Now, in the second part of the lecture, we'll study how the ancient sages used what is called the system of rights to adjust consumption based on the goal of achieving harmony and human happiness. Now, on the surface, rights refer to rules from personal conduct to social interaction and diplomatic interaction. However, the system of rights is not for the sake of creating rules and making our lives more complicated than it has to be. In Confucianism, human must not only abide certain rules, but also are the creator of the rights themselves. This is because, on a deeper level, the establishment of rights is in accordance with the understanding of human relation and harmony. So, this system of rights has enormous implication in economic management and business. So during the rest of this lecture, we'll focus on those particular rights that are related to the principle of consumptions. And in doing so, we'll divide our discussion into two parts. Part one is satisfaction of wants, which is this video, and then regulation of wants. So I hope by the end of this section, we can tackle the important questions that we have posed earlier. Now, I think that we would all agree that everybody has wants. Okay? No question about that, I guess. So if a man cannot get what he wants easily, he will think about how to acquire it and make a great effort in doing so. If there is unlimited supply, hypothetically, then everyone can fulfill his wants. But the reality is, of course, the supply of things is not unlimited. So there is a chance that people won't be able to obtain all they need. So when there is a struggle for resources, people will fight, and the society will become disordered. When disorder continues to escalate, at the end, the world may come to an end. So, in order to prevent the society from becoming chaotic, the system of rights is created. Xunzi explains the origin of rights from a distribution and production perspective. He said, rights are created to mark the social distinctions in order to satisfy the wants of man and to supply his demands. In other words, the purpose of rights is to prevent the wants from exhausting the commodities and to avoid commodities from failing the wants. So Xunzi's argument reveals two issues with about the material world. One is distribution and the other is production. So on the distribution side, there is simply not enough to go around for everybody. Even in modern days, for instance, given available data since 1860s, although the development of modern industrial era has generally reduced the salience of natural constraints in causing famine, but the fight over supplies of other commodities continue to be problematic on the individual level. For example, everybody wants bigger cars, bigger houses, better food, etc. Now, on one end of the equation, there are people who possess more than they can consume. But on the other end, there are people who are having a hard time surviving. This is not necessarily a cross-country comparison. Now, you'd be surprised just how imbalanced the scale is, even within one country. For instance, in England, the data in 2018 shows that over 200,000 dwellings are left vacant for more than 6 months across the country. But the level of homeless have reached record high. In London alone, for example, at the end of 2018, 1 in 52 were left without a place to call home, and that is 170,000 people. This is the issue with distribution, but we'll discuss this important issue in a later lecture. We just want to focus on production side of Xunzi's argument in this lecture. Now, according to Xunzi, rights are made to satisfy wants with high production standard. Okay, for example, the production of food is very much demand-driven. Sometimes I like to look at one of those food production videos. I look at all the flavors are added with extreme precision, and nutrition is also carefully measured. Too much of spice makes it tasting too strong, and people won't enjoy it. And too little is also not good. Too much oil is unhealthy. Now, sometimes we take a nice dish as something that comes very naturally, but it all requires many trials and experiments. But the sole purpose is to satisfy people's wants, and there are numerous rules and rights in the food industry, in food production. Likewise, the cultivation of plants and flowers, gardening design, architecture, the science of colors, right? Creation of musical instruments, making of homes and furniture and so on. They are all very time-consuming and complicated. For what purpose? Well, because we want to satisfy our senses. We want nice smell to satisfy the nose. We want pleasing shape, of objects, pleasing sounds, and so on. So, at the very surface level, the system of rights serves with a function to satisfy our economic wants. Now, in today's language, rights, from the perspective of consumption, is product quality. But we must say, a lot of the world's problem comes from wants that are inappropriate. The system of rights is, in fact, much deeper than quality control, because the ultimate purpose, remember, is to realize harmony and develop human nature. So the system of rights does not encourage those inappropriate wants. All the consumptions must be in harmony with the development of human nature. This is the ethical side of consumption. So to achieve this, the system of rights not only keeps an eye on the quality of production, but also sets up rule of consumption. Unfortunately, the ethical impact of consumption is largely ignored by policymakers, and it simply doesn't enter into the calculation of economic utility and GDP.